everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again, and it's my favourite time of the week. It's Wrestlers of the Week, and this week features quite a few very famous names, one in particular who I just cannot wait to get to. In other sort of news, it's not been too big a week in terms of shows. There was no WWE pay-per-view or that sort of thing, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that people haven't been trying to hoover up the points here and there. I'm actually very surprised that Roderick Strong didn't try and sneak onto the list this week. But anyway, without further ado, these are my Wrestlers of the Week. But before we begin, I do have to get through some honourable mentions. Aleister Black looked really impressive at the halftime heat show. To be fair, everyone in that match impressed, but I was especially impressed by Aleister Black. I thought he was wonderful. Tyler Bate and Jordan Devlin had really good performances in the Worlds Collide tournament. Tyler Bate defeating Dominik Dijakovic. They don't know how to say it either, so it's fine. Jordan Devlin won the Battle Royal at the start and was kind of the devious heel of the tournament, and it went really well for him, but not far enough. He didn't quite manage to win. In fact, I think it was Bate who got to the final, but neither man could pick up the victory. Over in Japan, in Stardom, Jamie Hayter or Hayter, I can never remember which way around it goes. She had a good match against Momo Watanabe, and I feel like I should round it off with one more just because of the way I was speaking there. Let's go for Mustafa Ali, because of his excellent match with Randy Orton on SmackDown. Now on to my number 10, picking up 1 point and his first of the year, even though he featured quite a lot last year. It's a man we're used to seeing on 205 Live, but this week, he actually went down to NXT and put in one hell of a losing performance, but looked really good in defeat. It's Drew Gulak. Yes, Gulak stopped by in NXT and had a wonderful singles match. Not a very long singles match, quite a short one, but a really good one against Matt Riddle. As soon as that match kind of was announced, or I guess if you saw it during like the spoilers of the tapings being released, like what matches are going to happen, that's just a good matchup, isn't it? Drew Gulak and Matt Riddle. It was great to see Drew Gulak away from the shackles of 205 Live, I guess. He's so often been the nearly man in 205 Live and has been kind of overlooked for, admittedly, very talented guys such as Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali when he was on 205 Live, Enzo. But it was great to see Drew head on down to NXT and have a good match with Matt Riddle. Nice to see him as well ditch the kind of face-babyface dynamic at the end, offering Matt Riddle the old catch point handshake. I don't know what to do. I feel like it was that, but I don't feel like I'm doing it very sort of manly there. But that's what they did, and I'm doing the same thing as them, so why am I not all manly like they are? Drew picks up 1 point. Number 9 is the man known as Bushi from the Los Ingobernables de Japón stable over in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Bushi is, for those unfamiliar with the New Japan roster, he's like the little dickhead of the stable. So you've got Naito, the leader, you've got Sonata and Evil, the tag specialists, who are both actually poised to be breakout single stars as well, or could be. Bushi's the little dick, Takahashi's the insane cruiserweight type, and Shingo Takagi's kind of, well, he's meant to be a junior, but he's kind of the destroyer. But we're focusing on Bushi. He mists people, he cheats a lot, even though LIJ are kind of baby faces now, especially feuding with Suzuki Gun as they have been. It looks as though a mask versus mask match is being set up. Bushi is a masked wrestler, as you can see, and it looks like he might be having a mask versus mask match with El Desperado, Suzuki Gun's masked member. This will be very exciting. Since I've been following New Japan, I don't think they've had a mask versus mask match, so for the past sort of, I guess, 3 years or so. I'm not too experienced a New Japan watcher. I am fairly new to the product, but the good thing about it is, I suppose, that wrestlers like Bushi help make New Japan more accessible to an unfamiliar audience. Bushi's great fun to watch. He's fast, he does dives, he mists people. Everyone loves him misting. He wears a mask. He's just a very good wrestler to sort of latch onto at the start. He doesn't really get as many opportunities as the others in the junior division, but he has, I believe, held the Junior Heavyweight Championship once or twice. He had a good tag match, and the crucial thing was that himself and Shingo Takagi defended their Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships successfully against Suzuki Gun, the team of Kanemaru and Desperado. And at the end of the match, he tried to rip off Desperado's mask. In fact, he did so, and then all of his mates had to jump in and cover his face. So it looks like a mask versus mask match is going to be set up. That's word on the street, and if it does happen, I'll be rooting for Bushi, because I interviewed Desperado once, and he gave me nothing. No, he was a nice guy, really. Number 8 is Jey White, the leader of the Bullet Club. Jey White basically has... Now, if you want to win a feud, and you want to show that you're determined to win this feud, especially if it's a title feud, invent a new finisher and name it after the person you're going to be facing. Jey White defeated Tanahashi this week. It was non-title action, it was in a tag team match, but he did make the champion tap out to his new finisher, the TTO, which somewhat predictably stands for the Tanahashi tap out. Yes, Jay. Yes. If you've not seen the new finisher, I've sort of included an image of it there. It's basically, it's sort of like Noam Dar's Champagne Super knee bar, and he kind of rolls into it, I suppose. I think there's more of an elaborate setup than there was for the knee bar, which could strike out of nowhere. This is a bit more like ceremonial, although I suppose in the midst of a match with counters flying everywhere and stuff, he could just latch it on out of nowhere. I don't know if it's exactly the same as the knee bar, but it looks a little bit similar to the layman's eye, and I'm not a wrestler, so it's the knee bar. Huge momentum for Jey White heading into his title match with Tanahashi. Hopefully it's really good, because obviously not at last Wrestle Kingdom, but the year before, in 2018, Jey White had a disappointing sort of match with Tanahashi, and it was meant to be his big coming out party, and everyone went, Jey, that wasn't too good, mate, not compared to some of the other stuff on the card. Thankfully, this year at Wrestle Kingdom, he had an excellent match with Kazuchika Okada, and defeated him, and hasn't really slowed down since. He's been cutting heel promos, he's been jumping fools, and he's made Tanahashi tap out with the Tanahashi tap out. Come on, Jey White. Number 7, oh my goodness. Oh my god, it's Randall Keith. Na. Randall Keith. I can't believe that Randy Orton is making an effort and getting himself on Wrestlers of the Week in 2019. Come on, Randall. There is good reason though. I haven't just included Randall Keith because he's a big name or anything like that. That was needlessly sarcastic there, because he's a big name. Randy Orton is a very big name. But no, I've included Randy Orton because of his excellent match with Mustafa Ali on SmackDown Live. If you haven't seen the match, it was probably the best WWE TV match of the week in terms of like the main roster. It was just wonderful. It was such a fresh matchup. I'd never seen a singles match between the two. And yes, they've clashed a bit over the past few weeks, but this was really a good chance for them to show what they can do. And they just had a really good match. I mean, it had one of my favourite spots that Randy Orton ever does, where someone will jump like off the top rope, but they'll hold on. It's like a fakie, and Randy will go like, okay, oh, I love it when that sort of stuff happens. The whole match generally was really good. Ali did hurt his eye at one point. Apparently it was because Randy went for the stomp, and he sort of sat up into it, and it hurt his eye, so it wasn't really Randy's fault. But the finisher was awesome, and another reminder of just how good Randy's timing is. Randy Keith Orton has some of the best timing ever seen in the wrestling business, and it was basically when Mustafa Ali was on the top rope looking for the 054, Randall recovered, snaked up behind him, grabbed his leg, swept it away, RKO off the turnbuckle. Job's done. Randy Orton winning the bag. He got jumped by Samoa Joe afterwards, but I think that there will be a little consolation in the fact that he knew that his good performance would get him a few points on Wrestlers of the Week. So well done, Mr. Apex Predator. Get on, carry on. I'm all flustered because Randy's on the league table. Carry on with the good performances next week, Randy. That's what I meant to say before I just flubbed that completely. Number 6 is Ricochet. Now, Ricochet is, I'm going to say, yeah, this is the way I'm going to put it. I don't think he's the best wrestler in the world right now. I think that's probably Kenny Omega, in my opinion. But there's a few that could be in the conversation. Okada, Ospreay, depending on what he does next. Bushi, one of the most naturally gifted wrestlers I've ever seen. But at the same time, I'm going to say that Ricochet is the most flawless wrestler in the world. Everything he does looks so smooth. It doesn't mean he's necessarily the best, but he is the most smooth and just flawless wrestler in the world, in my opinion. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. He moves like no one else. He has such grace, and that was on full display this week during halftime heat. As I said in the honourable mentions, Aleister Black really impressed me in this match, but I sort of had to lie a little bit and neglect to mention Ricochet, because Ricochet was the one who actually impressed me a lot in this match. Everything he hit was just done to perfection, whether he was hitting a move, selling a move, doing a reverse Rana, landing on his own head but managing to keep it safe somehow. He's just a man in outrageous control of his own body, and I'm so glad that a wider audience got to see what he could do. Not just him, like I'm glad they got to see all 6 guys in the match, but I'm glad that a wider audience got to see especially Ricochet, because he put on one hell of a performance. It was absolutely fantastic. Number 5, Tetsuya Naito, still the IWGP Intercontinental Champion after fending off his first challenger, Taichi. Taichi is like one of the most reviled figures on the New Japan roster right now. He kind of gets X-Pac heat. He's one of the only wrestlers in New Japan right now who isn't a cool heel. He's just a dick, and you've got to hate him, which is wonderful. You know, you need a breath of fresh air like that in the modern age, I suppose. He also gets criticised for not being the best in the ring, especially in New Japan, which is the land of work rate, the place where everyone is phenomenal in the ring. And he kind of lags behind a little bit, but given the right storyline, given the right sort of opponent, Tetsuya Naito, then I think Taichi can do well. This match was a weird one and a divided opinion. Basically, Naito got jumped during his entrance, had to fight back into it. There was questions of whether the match would even go ahead. It did, and Naito earned his way onto this list, not for the stupid bumps he took, because it was really horrible to watch and a bit cringy at times. I thought, oh, don't be hurting yourself too much, Naito, mate. It was more for his babyface performance. He's such a battling underdog at times. It's amazing to watch. I guess this comes from his background before he turned heel and led LIJ. I guess, like, this comes from when he was the Stardust Genius, when he was just a plucky, up-and-coming babyface. Now that he's face again, he can really bust out some of that selling, some of that sympathy grabbing once more, and it's great to see. Yes, he maintains that aura of cool, and yes, he's still a prestigious champion, but it's nice to see him fight from underneath. And I think this year, even though he won it recently, could be a massive year for Naito in the G1 Climax. He could rack up some serious points and maybe even win Wrestlers of the Week. Is it too soon to say that? Yeah, definitely is, yeah. Number 4, literally a teenager, Momo Watanabe. She's disgustingly young. Momo is disgustingly talented for her age, and it just makes me horribly angry week after week whenever I have to consider her for Wrestlers of the Week. She made it onto the list last year 1 or 2 times, I think, and this year she's made her debut on the list again. She's the reigning champion of Stardom, or the secondary champion, I should say, and even though it's the secondary belt that she holds, I think it's been producing the better matches than the top title recently. Yeah. Well, the big story of Stardom, like the past few months, has been Utami Hayashi Shita, who's kind of the Ronda Rousey of Stardom in that she was a big name, or she's from a famous family before she joined Stardom, and she's just shown an incredible natural aptitude for pro wrestling. It's Watanabe who's like the wrestler's wrestler. Despite her lack of experience, she looks like an absolute ring general. She's so well-rounded, as many of the top stars of Stardom are, and she defended her title in a great match this week against Jamie Hayter. I still can't. I'm going to say Hayter. It was a really good match. It's actually blown up a tiny bit online. I've seen some GIFs shared on Reddit and Twitter and that sort of stuff of people saying, wow, they're really lighting each other up, they're really going to war. And it's great to see that that sort of match get that sort of recognition. And it's great to see Momo get that sort of recognition. And I think that, maybe not this year, but maybe the year after that, she's got a very bright future, is what I'm going to say. And if Triple H hasn't already been trying to, like, eye her up and think, when am I going to get her across to NXT? I would be very, very surprised. So, can't wait for Momo to be the future NXT Japan Women's Champion. Now onto the future NXT Japan Men's Champion, Dragon Gate's own Shin Skywalker. That picture of him is absolutely I love that picture of him. Shin Skywalker picked up perhaps the biggest victory of his career this week, defeating Ben K, a much larger man than he, and defeating him in electrifying fashion. Shin Skywalker is one of the most promising junior heavyweights in the world today, and it was a really good match. It was the sort of, I don't want to say little versus large, but Ben K clearly is bigger, and that makes it sound like he's a lumbering giant. He's not. He's explosive, he's fast, he does a hell of a spear, but at the same time, Shin Skywalker was the David to his Goliath. And unlike Vince McMahon's retelling of the old Bible story, David actually did win this one, and he didn't eat any mushrooms or anything like that. Shin Skywalker capitalizing on Ben K being like a charging rhino, really. He hit the ropes a lot of times. Shin Skywalker went bang, like bicycle knee sort of strike, right to the face. And it's not just his strikes. The main thing about Shin Skywalker, as the name implies, is his Jedi mind trick. No, his high-flying capabilities. But I think he deserves a bit more credit than that. As the knee strike showed, he knows how to throw a strike with excellent timing, even with an opponent charging at him. He knows how to work a match. He knows how to tell a story. And I think that, yeah, and he's got a cool looking mask for the kids as well. I think the sky's the limit for Shin Skywalker, no pun intended, and I'm really annoyed with myself. 8 points for you. Number 2, picking up 9 points. We're sticking with Dragon Gate, but we're moving to the main event scene. It's not Pac, it's not Neville, the reigning champion. It's the man who could take that title from him, KZ. Now KZ, if you were watching last year when I included him on this list, is sort of a lovable rogue kind of character. He's a full babyface now. He went through some dark times. He's got it together. He's all lovable, and look at him. Look at his little hair. Ah, great. Everyone wants him to beat Pac badly because Pac is obviously one of the biggest heels in the world right now when he's not in this town, Newcastle upon Tyne. And KZ could be the man to take that title from him, that Open the Dreamgate Championship in Dragon Gate. However, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that KZ's really good, and I think that he is a future champion in Dragon Gate, but I don't think his time is now. I don't think he's John Cena. I don't think Pac's time is up and KZ's time isn't. I just don't think I think it's too soon for Pac to be losing the belt. And I think that even though KZ would be a very popular champion and the win would be like explosive and crazy and everyone would love it, I don't think it's quite yet. I don't think it's quite yet. But then again, Pac has signed with All Elite Wrestling and they could be working a more regular schedule. I don't know. I honestly don't know, but if I had to put money on it, I'd say that Casey's not going to win. He does deserve 9 points this week, however, for winning a triple threat match to earn this shot. And it was probably on balance, actually, the best match, I want to say, of the week. It wasn't the biggest week in terms of excellent matches. Halftime Heat was great, but the onus of it was split between 6 guys, whereas in this case, Casey was the standout dude. He picked up the win. There was a bit of a kerfuffle with Pac after the match as well, and it sort of helped solidify Casey, get him some sympathy in the fans' eyes, and hopefully when the title match comes around, they will be right behind him, and both men can put on a wonderful match. And number 1 this week, my wrestler of the week, kind of doing a bit of a Roddy Strong, I have to admit, kind of taking advantage of a little bit of a quiet week. It's Velveteen Dream. Now, Velveteen Dream did 2 things this week. He got the pinfall in the halftime Heat match after an excellent display. Not as individually brilliant, I want to say, as Black or Ricochet, but at the same time, it was still really, really good. All 6 guys in the match did really well. And it was Dream who picked up the pinfall, which I think is a sign of NXT's continued interest in pushing Velveteen Dream to the moon, to the purple rain. No. The second thing Dream did this week was win the Worlds Collide tournament. Now, I'm going to be a little bit critical of the Worlds Collide tournament just because it wasn't the wrestler's fault, it was just aired in a weird order. Everyone got confused. I still don't know what to make of it, but at the end of the day, Velveteen Dream did win and put in some good performances along the way. The final was against Tyler Bate. They're 2 of the brightest young wrestlers in the world today, and it was great to see it. You know, it was great to go into that match knowing that at least one of them was going to pick up the victory. Obviously then getting a title shot. Velveteen Dream picked up the win. I think he's using his title shot on Johnny Gargano rather than Tommaso Ciampa, which makes sense from like a logistic point of view behind the scenes, because Velveteen Dream and Ciampa have already wrestled for the belt at a takeover, whereas him versus Gargano is a little bit more of a fresh matchup, although they have wrestled on TV. But I just think, where does it make sense in storyline? Why would Dream willingly go for Gargano? If anyone can turn that around and explain it through their promos and their actions, it's Velveteen Dream. He reminded us again this week what an excellent wrestler he can be, which is often something that gets overlooked because of how good a character he always is. But this week was kind of a work rate week for Velveteen Dream, winning that tournament, acing halftime Heat, basically getting the pinfall. And he also did that cool thing where the other 2 were doing all their flips and stuff, and he went, I'm just going to roll backwards through the ropes and go, yeah, which was cool to see. 10 points for you, Velveteen Dream, number 1 on Wrestlers of the Week this week. Congratulations. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the league table. Johnny Gargano is still number 1 with Becky Lynch at number 2, but Ricochet is closing in fast. Shin Skywalker jumps up to joint 5th. No disrespect to him, but he's probably the least known of all the front runners, so fair play to Shin Skywalker. Further down, we see the likes of Pac, Jey White, Casey, this week's number 2, of course, and one of WWE's latest signings, Trevor Lee, rounds out the top 25. I wonder when we'll see him in action. So that is it for this week. Thank you very much for watching Wrestlers of the Week. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can find me on Twitter if you want to, at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us generally at Cultaholic, and check out our Patreon as well, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, if you haven't done so already, to hit subscribe and to join us.